Good morning. A couple of different topics this morning. It's Wednesday. Some people call it hump day. I hope whatever that means to you, that it turns out to be of your best intention and expectation. First topic is a general rant. Okay, so I watch some of the news networks. They do have some news. Mostly they have no news. Mostly it's just a rehash of the same items over and over again. Like this impeachment stuff, which is really good, by the way. I mean, the way it's being conducted and the way in which the Republican Party is being exposed for the dishonest, ad hominem based pieces of shit that they've been for a long time. They've been this way for a long time. I don't know what the shock is on some of these networks that these cretins act this way. This is all they have. They rarely have any fact. They've been debunked. They've been shut down. They basically have been kicked in the rhetorical balls. Not to say that another ball kicking might be necessary. Have to dislike them, always have disliked them. They're a party of criminals. More of them been indicted and convicted than Democrats. Democrats have been indicted and convicted also. I'm not necessarily pro-Democrat, except when it comes to issues. I'm an independent. I'm more of a true socialist than anything. I believe that when the workers own the means of production, then we have socialism. Otherwise, everything else is usually some kind of capitalist authoritarian bent on it. If you disagree with that, that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinions and our thinking. So, what's going on now is exposing what we knew, many of us do, about Trump before 2015. We know that this bastard is a white-collar criminal. He always has been. He's been beaten in court many times for his transgressions and inequities, his illegalities, his criminal pursuits. He's a criminal. That's what he is. He always has been. People liked him because they're looking for Big Daddy to save their ass. There's a lot of these ex-military, they're a disgrace because they support him. Yes, because they support him. That's their right to support him if they wish. However, the reason they support him is based in their own iniquity. Yes, it is. If you support a criminal who continues on with criminal activity, and Trump has now been proven to do this, I mean, look at his foundation got fined $2 million by the state of New York. $2 million they got fined for impropriety. While that was a civic retort, still, it's criminal. And you're going to argue with me whether it is criminal or not. I'm not a lawyer, neither are you. It is criminal. Trump is proven criminal. You're backing a criminal. You're aiding and abetting. You're worse, actually, in your moral iniquity than he is. Because the facts have been out there for a long time. Hundreds of people have come forward with the facts about this cretin. Look at him. He's failing. He spews like a neighborhood bully who should have had his ass beat on the street numerous times. This is the thing. This prick has been protected and insulated against any type of reprisal except legal for years and years and years. To see our military and our police support him is worse than tragic. Worse than tragic. How can our military protect and defend us, or our police protect and defend us, when they support a criminal? Not to mention there hasn't been corruption in the military. Look at what recently happened along the border in California with the Marines. That was a big story. Bunch of corrupt activity. We know there's been corrupt activity and criminal activity by the military in the military for years, and it's probably devoid of partisanship. Police, same thing. We've seen corrupt police all across the country. We know that a lot of white police work with a racial bias, that they're racist, that they're bigoted, that they shoot people without good reason many times. Sometimes they have good reason. They don't know if the guy is going to pull out a knife, a gun, or a card that says he's deaf and blind. Done this many times. So they have become militarized, and basically all the police forces that have been need to be gutted out and replaced with people who are socially responsible, who know how to talk to people and also arrest people when they are criminal offenders. The war on drugs is what really got a lot of this going. Of course, those undercurrents have been there for years. I mean, we can go back to the early days of the labor movement, when the companies hired private police forces to kill people, basically to kill rioters and protesters. So this shit's been around for a long time. It's nothing new. And I'm glad to see the city of Phoenix possibly taking some steps to gut this out, because it needs to be gutted out. The police and military need to be gutted out. They need to have implicit bias testing all the time to gut this out. And while it is American to have whatever opinion you wish, I mean, you can be a Nazi opinion, you can be a communist opinion, you can be a conservative opinion. That term, I could spend a whole 20 minutes on that. You could have a liberal opinion, another term I could spend a whole 20 minutes on. You can have you can have that neutral, apathetic opinion, of which too many people have, millions. Probably more, millions have that opinion than either one of the parties. And that's a sad thing. And we can blame Reagan and the Republicans for that. Yes, Reagan. Reagan was a monster. He was an ideological criminal. His ideology has infected everyone. I watch Morning Joe every morning, and Joe Scarborough makes some great points. He also is a fucking idiot. And how he's an idiot is he still toes that old conservative line that doesn't work. An old conservative line that people who are basically historically and politically not very informed have. For instance, they're knocking Medicare for all. The numbers prove, and this has been shown by economists, that the numbers prove that Medicare for all is workable, affordable, and should be enacted. Also, the people have wanted Medicare for all. And now we have this massive propaganda campaign against it. Massive propaganda campaign. And who has that been mounted by? Big Pharma. Who has that been mounted by? Maybe the AMA is involved also. Who has that been mounted by the fossil fuel? Yes, fossil fuel. Where does most pharmacologic agents, where do most drugs come from? Prescription drugs? Most of them come from oil. They are products of oil synthetics. Not to say some of them have a lot of efficacy and should be used. The problem is overcharging. We know about that. There's so much factual information about that you can look up. I'm not going to present it here. I mean, it's been presented 1,000 times. So I watch this show. They knock Medicare for all. And after that, what comes on? A commercial by Big Pharma for some product. Now, I have psoriasis, and I am taking a biological. And I got in on a program which allows me to do that for $25 a month. The biological is called Taltz. It's cleared up my psoriasis and has helped with my arthritic problems. I'm severely arthritic. I'm osteoarthritic from head to toe, possibly rheumatoid arthritic as well. I have the autoimmune condition of psoriasis. I've overcome many chronic diseases like hepatitis C and so forth. So yes, pharmaceuticals have done that for me. However, the companies that sell them are rip-offs and thieves, and they're out for the buck. And they're a Wall Street fucking bunch of rip-offs. That's what they are. And if you don't think so, I mean, nobody likes paying high prices for drugs. Nobody wants to pay $10 or $50 for a pill that costs 4 cents to make. No. All the R&D that they do, of course, is mainly funded by our tax dollars. So they shouldn't be allowed to get away with that. The insurance companies are even worse. They're profit motivated. They need to be gutted down in lieu of a Medicare for all to a 10% profit ceiling. That'll force a lot of them out of business, which they should be anyway. Then, here's the thing. The people that used to work for them can be put to work in Medicare for all. Paid better, since there's no profit involved, blah, blah, blah. So that assault is bullshit. That's more conservative Reagan rhetoric. Reagan started that shit with big government. Oh, government's bad, bad. Well, it indoctrinated enough people in the boomer generation, of which I'm from, and also the Xers. The Xers just hated everybody. They still do. They hated everybody. They had this cynical, smug arrogance. And that's my next topic, is smug arrogance. It means people are overly confident in their arrogance about their opinions on things and about, the way they live their lives and so forth. I see this amongst many of my friends and acquaintances, more acquaintances than friends. Many of them are very smugly arrogant about what they believe and think. They would call me the same. Yes, and I am a bit intimidating. That's me. That's my way. That's my voice. And yes, I do practice persuasion. That is something I do. When it comes to these, I'm probably a little bit too angry for most people, or angry sounding. But let me tell you, I've been outraged by what I've seen in society. And what I see today is a smug arrogance, a confident arrogance. And what's that arrogance about? It's about I'm right and you're wrong. This is why you have our politics like a Saturday afternoon college football game. My team's better than your team. Why? Because it's my team. Instead of, hey, your team plays dirty ball. Or, hey, your team is too clean. As you can see, there's a lot of that's going on. I mean, they're interviewing some Trump supporters in Florida this morning on MSNBC or CNN, one of the two. And they're interviewing those guys, those women, and they're like, oh, no, we're not watching the impeachment. It's not going to change our opinion of the president. These are the kind of people that I don't want voting. And I want you people who are not voting, more importantly, people who are not voting, you need to see these people and get your ass off the couch, go to the computer, sign up to be a registered voter. And if you're in a state like I am in, where you can have a mail-in ballot, to get a mail-in ballot and vote. And we need to drub these people out by voting. Yeah, they have a right to their opinion. They have a right to vote the way they want to vote. They have absolute right to do that. I agree. However, we need to come out and we need to enforce by our vote what we want. Here's the thing about the smug arrogance. Like, well, I give up on everything. It's fuck. We can't do anything to change anything. Bullshit. It's been done time and time again. The problem is you have the constant pushback from the profiteers and the vulture capitalistic oriented cocksuckers. Yeah, and I use the word cocksucker because I use it in an 1890s contest. Okay? And it was derogatory. Now, people that like to suck cock, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people like to suck cock, and they like it, and there's nothing wrong with sucking cock. But let's say that this is like a dirty person, a person that sucks in dirty shit. Well, a cock is not dirty shit, so we've dispelled all that. The smug arrogance about postmodernism. There's another one. Oh, fuck you, postmodernists. Purist, fuck you. And you know what? Yeah, I agree. We do have a lot of political correctness. I agree. And we do need a great deal of it. Why? Because people have their own definitions of all these different terms. Most of them are wrong. And I get chided once in a while for using Webster's dictionary. Why? Because people want to exert their own definitions. Recently, a good friend of mine for many years, who I love dearly, who, I respect his opinion, we don't have debates. You can't have debates on social media. It's not a true debate. It's an argument. It's a rhetorical argument. So we had an argument about soul. Well, first of all, he has a definition of soul, which I was not presenting an argument against. He has a definition of soul as being somehow part of consciousness, maybe the seat of consciousness. It's more of it has more of an esoteric, plausible esoteric basis than the definition that I was arguing against. And bad on me for not clarifying what I meant by that. To me, I was fighting in this argument against soul as the Judeo-Christian concept, as an eternal, egocentric life spark. Now, I know my friend probably would agree with me, or to some degree at least, that the ego doesn't have anything to do with what he was referring to as soul. What he's referring to has a base in consciousness in some way. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the consciousness. I don't disagree that consciousness may have an almost eternal aspect. We don't know that consciousness stays the same. We don't know that. So if every soul or every individual consciousness added into the general consciousness, which might be more like an information stream, we don't know. We don't know any of this. But I tell you this, I fight against the Christian concept of soul. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's a made-up myth, like most of the afterlife bullshit. We don't know if there's an afterlife or not. We don't know that. Probably from what we've seen, it's not. If there is some form of after consciousness aspect, it's not a life with an ego like we have. It's not like that. So this is what we know. So we see a lot of smug arrogance everywhere. The Trump suckers, which is what I call a Trump supporter because they're a sucker for Trump. I mean, I can't believe how many people want a fucking dictator. This is what they want. And this guy is not even a good dictator. He eats the corn out of Putin, and Erdogan, and Kim Jong-un. Talk about a scumbag. And even the president of China, Xi, he eats the corn out of their political shit. Why? Because he's looking at, after he gets out of office, how he and his family can do business with these cocksuckers. Excuse me for these assholes. These people are idiots. These people are dictators. These people are not like Americans. He's doing this because he wants to do business with them. He thinks that our country is a business. That's his smug arrogance. For years, I've listened to people who wanted our country to run like a business. When it runs like a business, it fails. That isolationist thing fails. We're not a business. Our country has a government. Who is the government? The people really are the government because we can vote. The problem is people don't want to believe that. People don't want to take responsibility, their civic responsibility, seriously, vote responsibly, run for office. I can say one thing, that's blue wave that happened in 2018, there was a lot of folks that exerted civic responsibility by running for office. That needs to happen more and more because we need more of a factual civilian oversight involved in our government. Because this is our government. This is not the government owned by big business, of which it is these days. These days, our government is mostly owned by big business. And this is what the progressives are fighting against. We need to get these fuckers out. We need to get these guys out. These people need to get out. We don't need them around. We don't want them running things. We can consult with them. We can make an environment which is conducive to them creating jobs and sharing profits with the workers, things like that. Yeah, we need to have that. But this smug arrogance of this so-called president that we have has bled over into deregulation. Well, some deregulation is necessary, but it's supposed to be replaced by a better regulation. Yes, some regulations are faulty. However, we need to have regulations that protect the people against poison, against toxicity of all sorts, and against the big companies. The big companies are the oligarchy. The big companies are the ones that are running the government. How do we do that? We get rid of the corporate Democrats. We get rid of the GOP. The GOP is a corrupt, fetid, slimeball organization these days. The moderates that used to be in that party have gone over to the Democratic Party and infected that with their bullshit. And yes, I am anti-moderate. Why am I anti-moderate? Because anti-moderate will destroy the world. Because it's too laid back. It's too, well, this and that. It's too wishy-washy. I'm anti-moderate. So while they have to be allowed to participate and taken for their opinion, they also need to be debunked. So we have a big job as citizens. Our big job is to come out with what we think is important and to bolster it with fact. Nowadays, you have the war on facts. This is really bad. And postmodernism hasn't helped with this because postmodernism says, well, my opinion is a fact and it's just as good as yours. This is what it boils down to in a lot of cases. Some cases, no, because people use the principles of science. They use the principles of, cause and effect to make decisions. And yes, there are opinions about which is the way to go with these decisions. There are opinions about that. They're valid. However, we have to do what benefits most of the people most of the time. This is what we have to do. Deregulating fossil fuel industry, subsidizing fossil fuel industry, allowing them to build toxic pipelines across land which has water that becomes polluted with the phenolic compounds and other toxic oil compounds is not right. That's not right. That's wrong. And this is a thing like deregulating auto emissions. That's bullshit. He's trying to suck the corn out of the auto industry's shit. And so, and then, now everybody drives a fucking pickup truck that doesn't need one. If you have a pickup truck and you use it for good purpose, I'm with you. I do too. I have one. I use it to haul things and bring things to my home that I need to fix my home up without paying through the ass for it. Okay? So, trucks are good to have like that. But using it as a commuter vehicle, burning too much gas with it, okay, so it's your right to buy that. However, driving is a privilege. This is another thing about this smug arrogance. I see a lot of these people on the road, and I don't know if they belong to one age group or generation or political partisan. I have no idea who they are. I don't know if they're young or old or whatever. I think most of them are, probably anywhere from their 20s to their 40s. They drive like it's their right to drive. They drive very arrogantly. They think that these freeways that we have here in the Phoenix area are a place for them to road race. They'll drive to 80, 90, 95 miles an hour down these freeways. They're driving in the HOV lane, which is a $400 fine. And because we're not enforcing traffic laws, they get away with it every day. Every day they get away with it. Now, I like to drive 80 miles an hour as much as the next person. However, the way these folks drive is not safe. They have too close. They're too close in proximity. They don't maintain safe stopping distances. They do illegal, unsafe lane changes. It's pretty wrong what people are doing. They're on the phone. They're driving in Bluetooth-enabled cars, but they still have the phone up to their ear. What kind of bullshit is that? If your phone doesn't work that way, get rid of the phone and get one that does work that way. So that's more of that arrogance shit. More of that fucking bullshit, smug arrogance. So if you're, and then there's people in just about anything out there are smug and arrogant about it. The exercise nuts and the gym rats. Fuck you. Okay, I'm glad you're taking care of your body and all that. You don't need to post about it. If you want to be a life coach, get a website. Okay, if you want to be an exercise coach, get a website and advertise it and pay money like businesses do to advertise what they're doing. Don't show it on Facebook. Fuck you. You know, you got a right to do that. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But most of these people, I was looking at somebody today that's in my feed, and this person used to have a nice, wholesome appearance. Since they've gone to the gym and started all this crazy dietary crap, they look like a gutted zombie. They look like a fucking gutted zombie. Okay, so it's that person's right to look like that. That can't be healthy. That's not healthy. I'm sorry. That's going to pay later. That's going to play a physical toll on that person's body. I know. I was in the gym for 11 years with hardly any breaks. I worked really hard despite my conditions. Then we found out through CAT scans and through MRIs, really shouldn't be doing all that heavy lifting. I loved it. I loved going in and pushing 70,000 pounds in a workout. I loved it. It did me a lot of good, I think, mentally. However, now I'm paying the physical price. And I have one of the best trainers in the world. Personally, I think he's the best trainer in the world. That's just my personal view and experience with him. I trained with him for over 10 years. He's excellent. His people win championships in powerlifting. He's an excellent trainer. He knows nutrition. He knows the right thing to do for the person that he's training. He did that with me. He did his very best. But even he had to shake his head. So I left the gym. And don't get me wrong, there's grief involved there. I really hate that I can't go in there and push 80,000 pounds. So I do my best to get up and walk, to get some exercise in, because I know that exercise is good for us. Too much exercise, proven fact, bad. See, a lot of these people, there's one person I have to hide in my feed. I had to snooze for 30 days again because they're in the gym like 6 hours a day. And now they're shrinking up. They look like a crenated red blood cell. This is not healthy. This person posts all this super positive stuff all the time. Come on, that's not healthy. There's positive and negative aspects to most experiences. The negative aspects can help us form positive outcomes and positive paths forward. I'm losing it. I got to get off here. So from a negative, we can turn that into a positive action. Okay, that's why they're good. That's one of the reasons. Another reason they're good is we find out that we made mistakes that we don't have to make again. And here's the problem seated there. It's called perfection. There is no perfection. It is really a very erroneous term. We just do what we do. We do what we do, and we work hard to improve. That's it. Perfection needs to go away, because how many people got judged because they weren't perfect according to somebody's ideals? Millions upon millions of us have been judged that way. It doesn't make us a victim, but it does give us a great opportunity to move toward a state of improvement instead of perfection. So progress, not perfection. One of the few things I keep from the 12-step program. That's a whole series of rants that are already on the feed here. You know, I appreciate you all. I want you all to find out what you want, maybe get what you want. Maybe in doing that, you find out other things that are more important than what you think you want. Find out your object of desire. Build that into some kind of symbology that you can act upon. And remember, all the goal-seeking supposed statistics that came out of Yale and Harvard and all those places, it was all bullshit. There wasn't any. So you don't have to set goals, but you can work towards outcomes which are positive and beneficial to you and others around you. So have a great Wednesday and do the hump the way you like it.